Hello everyone. Have you ever wondered why some countries are exploding in population while others are shrinking at the very same time? Today we are going to explore the demographic cycle, its evolution, and its stages, giving us a comprehensive look at demographic transition theory. Let us begin. Demography is the scientific study of human populations. It focuses on five key elements. Size refers to the absolute total number of persons in a given population. Distribution refers to the specific geographical arrangement at a single point in time. Structure refers to the definitive breakdown of the population by age and sex. Change refers to the dynamic increases or decreases driven by the three primary levers: fertility, mortality, and migration. And development refers to the socio-economic realities, including health, intelligence, and overall progress. Understanding demography forms the blueprint for public health administration. Health planning utilizes age, sex, and location data to effectively design and execute targeted healthcare initiatives for current and future populations. Disease identification involves analyzing mortality rates across specific demographic segments to locate fatal diseases of public health importance and plan countermeasures. Resource management involves calculating precise future requirements for medical manpower, drug supplies, and healthcare facilities based on population trajectories. And program evaluation provides the empirical baseline required to determine the success or failure of specific interventions, like mass vaccination or family planning. The foundational framework for this theory was laid by Warren Thompson in 1929. He categorized countries into three groups based on industrialization and time. Group C, the pre industrial group, had high birth rates and high death rates, resulting in a static equilibrium with very slow population growth. Group B, the improving group, saw high birth rates persist, but death rates began declining as health and living conditions improved, resulting in rapid population growth. And Group A, the industrialized group, achieved low birth rates and low death rates, becoming fully industrialized and urbanized, leading to slow or stabilizing population growth. Frank W. Notestein systematized Thomson's observations in 1945, formally coining the phrase demographic transition to describe the shift from pre industrial to modernized demographic regimes through his classical four stage model. Stage 1, pre transition, is characterized by high and fluctuating birth and death rates. Stage 2, early transition, sees the death rate begin to fall sharply due to improved nutrition and sanitation, while birth rates remain high, causing rapid population growth. Stage 3, late transition, sees birth rates finally start to decline, and though the population continues to grow, the rate of growth firmly decelerates. And stage 4, post transition, sees societies achieve low birth and low death rates, with population growth becoming negligible or entering a slow decline. C.P. Blacker expanded this into a five stage demographic cycle in 1947. In the first stage, high stationary, a high birth rate and high death rate cancel each other out, keeping the population stationary, and this is seen when a country is economically weakest. For example, India until 1920. In the second stage, early expanding, the death rate declines due to improved food supply, healthcare, and sanitation. But the birth rate remains high, sometimes even increasing due to shorter breastfeeding periods, resulting in a huge population surge, as seen in many developing nations across modern South Asia and Africa. In the third stage, late expanding, the death rate declines further to a minimum and the birth rate begins to fall due to contraceptives and women's empowerment. So, births still exceed deaths, but population grows at a diminishing rate, as seen in India, China, and Singapore. Moving to stages 4 and 5, in the fourth stage, low stationary, low birth rate, and low death rate roughly balance out. So, population remains stationary at a low growth level, and an aging population profile emerges, as seen in most industrialized nations, with zero or minimal growth recorded in Austria, the United Kingdom, Denmark, Sweden, and Belgium. In the fifth stage, declining, the birth rate drops definitively lower than the death rate, so the total population begins to actively shrink in the absence of immigration, as seen notably in Germany, Hungary, and Norway. Demographers formally reintroduced and popularized this fifth stage after observing real world data. The original assumption in mid 20th century models was that populations would naturally level off and stabilize permanently in stage 4. But the modern reality observed in the 1990s and 2000s revealed a new phenomenon called sub-replacement fertility. The math behind this shows that total fertility rates fell below the critical 2.1 replacement level required for a stable population. Nations like South Korea, which recorded a fertility rate near zero point 0.7 in 2023, along with Japan and Italy, began experiencing unprecedented natural population decline, straining social safety nets as the ratio of elderly dependents to working age citizens surged. Now let us look at the master model of transition as a whole. At point A, mortality plummets as exogenous shocks like medicine and sanitation pull the death rate down rapidly. This creates the population explosion, the widening gap between birth rate and death rate. At point B, fertility declines as endogenous changes like urbanization and education pull the birth rate down slowly. The key insight here is that the sheer volume of global human population growth is strictly determined by the width and duration of the temporal gap between falling mortality and falling fertility. Let us now examine each stage in detail, starting with stage 1, the high stationary equilibrium. The dynamic here is a static equilibrium of misery, where tremendous birth rates are entirely offset by disease, famine, and low food security. So, total population growth remains negligible. The economy is rural, agrarian, and entirely subsistence based. Children are viewed as immediate economic assets for agricultural labor and necessary old age security in a society with abysmal life expectancy. Today, effectively zero nations remain fully in stage 1, though isolated, conflict affected regions briefly mirror these conditions. Stage 2 is the population explosion. Here, the demographic gap rips open as natural increase reaches its absolute maximum while mortality collapses. This exogenous shock comes from better medical facilities, mass vaccination, epidemic control, and clean water, which disrupt historical death rates and cause infant mortality to plunge. However, there is a cultural lag where birth rates refuse to drop, as traditional social attitudes, patriarchal values, and son preference persist long after child survival rates improve. The consequence is a massive surge in the youth demographic, creating intense infrastructural strain and extreme child dependency ratios. Stage 3 is the decelerating expansion. Here, the gap narrows, and though population continues growing in absolute terms, the rate of growth firmly decelerates. There is an economic shift where industrialization and urbanization flip the economic calculus, and children transition from economic assets like farm labor to economic liabilities involving housing, health, and extended education costs. There is also a cultural shift where female education, delayed marriage, and contraception availability drive a structural shift towards smaller families. As a case study, India is currently in late stage 3, where the fertility rate has hit 2.0, which is below replacement level, but the absolute population still expands strictly due to population momentum from massive earlier cohorts entering reproductive age. Stage 4 is the low stationary equilibrium. Here, the transition concludes as low birth rates effectively balance low death rates, resulting in zero or negligible population growth. The society becomes fully urbanized, heavily industrialized, technologically advanced, and characterized by high female workforce participation and individualistic lifestyles. The new challenge here is that the definition of the population problem changes and the focus shifts entirely away from overpopulation, pivoting instead toward managing an aging demographic, pension burdens, and maintaining a balanced labor force. Stage 5 is the inversion and decline. Here, sub replacement fertility takes hold as the birth rate falls below the death rate, triggering absolute natural population decline. The drivers behind this include severe work life imbalances, massive housing costs, delayed family formation, and evolving gender role conflicts, which push desired family sizes well below 2.0. This creates a serious economic threat as a shrinking tax base and a rapidly contracting working age population are forced to support an aggressively expanding elderly cohort, threatening the solvency of national health and pension systems. Looking closer at surviving stage 5, South Korea's fertility rate stood at an unprecedented zero point 0.7 in 2023. This context means that such a society requires halving its subsequent generation, representing a faster demographic collapse than any peacetime historical event. To counter this, states must aggressively intervene through pro natalist policy interventions. Financial levers include tax benefits for families, subsidized childcare, and paid parental leave. Labor levers include raising the national retirement age and aggressively driving automation and productivity. And demographic levers involve relying on targeted immigration to immediately inject working age individuals into the tax base. There is also an important economic prize hidden within this engine known as the demographic dividend. It begins with falling fertility, where urbanization and cultural shifts drastically reduce the birth rate. This leads to a collapsing dependency ratio, where with fewer children being born, the societal burden of caring for massive youth cohorts evaporates. This creates a working age bulge, where the large cohorts born during stage 2 mature, resulting in a massive disproportionate share of working age citizens. And finally, if and only if this bulge is matched with deliberate state investments in education, skill development, and job creation, it yields the dividend, an unprecedented national economic acceleration. Of course, this theory does face criticism. The first criticism is a Western historical bias. Europe's endogenous transition had a slow, gradual pace, taking over a century to complete, driven by internal economic development, where rising wealth slowly funded better sanitation and steady mortality declines alongside gradual industrialization. In contrast, the developing world's compressed transition was hyper accelerated, driven by external exogenous shocks. As developing nations imported advanced medical technology, vaccines, and public health models overnight, resulting in mortality collapsing decades before industrialization or wealth could naturally curb fertility, creating unprecedented population explosions far exceeding the European experience. The second criticism concerns missing variables. There is a migration blind spot since the theory focuses solely on births and deaths, entirely omitting migration. While today, regions with low fertility like Europe and the Gulf states maintain growth and manipulate age structures strictly through massive immigration. There is a gender dynamics deficit, since the theory treats modernization as a monolith, underplaying that fertility truly only declines when women secure reproductive rights, education, and independent economic power. There is a state policy factor, since the theory assumes demographic behavior changes naturally, ignoring how aggressive state interventions, such as China's one child policy or India's family planning programs, can violently alter the curve. And there is an environmental limit, since the model assumes infinite socio-economic development, ignoring ecological carrying capacities, climate vulnerability, and resource stress triggered by stage 2 population explosions. It helps to view the population problem through three different lenses. Thomas Malthus, through the lens of pessimism and limits, believed that human population will inevitably outrun agricultural food supply, ending in catastrophic famine and war. Karl Marx, through the lens of exploitation and capital, believed that overpopulation is a myth created by capitalism and that the real issue is unequal resource distribution and labor exploitation. And demographic transition theory, through the lens of empirical evolution, believes that socio-economic development naturally regulates human reproduction and that wealth and modernization are the ultimate contraceptives. Comparing these three frameworks directly, Malthus focused on population versus food supply, blaming absolute overpopulation, severely underestimating technology, and proposing moral restraint or famine as positive checks. Marx focused on population versus capitalism, blaming exploitation and unequal distribution, viewing technology solely as a tool of capitalist production, and proposing social transformation and redistribution as the solution. And demographic transition theory focused on vital rates versus development, blaming the temporary gap between mortality and fertility, viewing technology as the primary mechanism that reduces mortality and later fertility, and proposing endogenous economic development, education, and healthcare as the solution. To bring it all together, the growth engine is essentially a lag. Demographic transition theory proves that population explosions are not caused by people having more children, but by the temporal gap between rapidly imported medicine and slowly evolving cultural norms. Development endogenously curbs fertility, contradicting Malthusian doom, since the data proves that modernization, female education, and urban wealth naturally and consistently drive down desired family size. And there are radical shifts in dependency, since as nations transition, their social burden violently flips from surviving stage 2 infrastructural strains of managing massive youth cohorts to mitigating stage 5 economic crises of supporting massive elderly populations with a shrinking workforce. Hope you have understood about the topic, the demographic cycle, evolution, and stages. If you found this video useful, please like and share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.